The whole crypto market is going to come crashing down, or at least that's what the news would have us believe today. Or on top of that, another article says that we might reach six figures by the end of the year. Well, which is it? The truth is, who knows? But we're going to cover that. Also, it looks like Elon and Jack Dorsey are once again having a bit of an NFT based Twitter spat of sorts, kind of. Anyways, I'll cover that in a minute. And also, some really true news with what MasterCard and Nexo have planned. Got a whole bunch of news in this roundup coming right up. Hey friends, Wes Spencer here. Hope you guys are doing awesome. I'm pumped to talk to you guys today about some really cool news that has been happening around the crypto sphere. A whole bunch of hype, as is typical in the world of crypto, and beyond that, some actual real news as well that I think is pretty interesting. So let's go ahead and jump in, and I want to show you a great example of the difference between hype and actuality, all in the same article, from the headline to the content. It just shows how much you have to be careful with what you read. Hey, while you're here, hit like, hit subscribe as we jump into this content. Would love for you to stay in touch with me. So this right here comes from our friends at Yahoo Finance. Cryptocurrencies may all come crashing down, says Michael Lewis. Does anybody here know who Michael Lewis is? At first I thought it was the track star, and then I realized, no, that's Carl Lewis. Very close, of course, but certainly not the same guy. This guy is an author. He's like a contributor on a whole bunch of stuff, like a whole bunch of best-selling author, like books, all that good stuff, right? And it talks about how he made some comments of crypto may come crashing down. When I first saw the headline, I'm like, who is this guy? Like, doesn't have any idea what he's talking about. Now, you guys know I am not a crypto maximalist. I'm a huge believer in the technology, but on this channel, there is no moon pumping whatsoever. I'll never tell you this crypto is going to blow up or fall down apart. Like, that's just, the truth is, no YouTuber knows what they're talking about. So I'm like, well, who's this guy? Why does he think he knows what he's talking about? But then, look at this. I actually read the actual comment. Here it is right here. I want to read it to you. The whole thing may come crashing down, says Lewis. It's hard to judge. Impossible to judge whether that faith is sustainable or not. Oh yeah, and he said right below or above this, crypto is like an act of faith, like gold or like the dollar. And I read that and I'm like, okay, that's actually not so bad. I mean, sure, what's the dollar propped up on? The confidence of the American people and the American economy and the almighty military might of the US government. It's certainly not based on gold anymore. And for that matter, gold. Why is gold what it's worth? Because we say it is. Because we like gold and it happens to be somewhat rare. And crypto has a lot of those same things, like it or not. Pretty soon I'm going to be in Nashville. I'm going to be speaking at a conference and I'm speaking on crypto. And I'm going to say the same thing for a whole bunch of people that are cybersecurity people, but not crypto people that don't understand NFTs. NFTs are in the eye of the beholder. If you don't want to buy a Bored Ape for $250,000 and you'd rather have a Moon Lambo instead, be my guest. But who am I to say what you should or shouldn't pick, right? It's your money. Do what you want with it. And so all of a sudden, when I see this quote, I go from being kind of shocked and a little unhappy at this fake Carl Lewis guy into realizing, oh, he's actually quite reasoned in the statement. It looks like it's just the news articles that are just trying to pump for clicks, as always, saying things that it's going to fall apart without actually reading the meat of what he says. I don't actually think he's a crypto hater at all. He's just saying it's an act of faith, like gold and the dollar. And I think there's truth to that. Now, I do believe in the technology behind Bitcoin, especially in a lot of good cryptos. But there's truth to this, right? So I thought that was a pretty interesting thing. And speaking of interesting things, look at this article right here. So like the other flip side of the journalistic viewpoints here, right? Bitcoin could hit $100,000 within a year. Okay, cool. Watch this. Bitcoin could hit $250,000 within a year. Bitcoin could hit $48,000 in the year, which is what it's at now. Bitcoin could hit $1 within the year. I get it. Like people trying to throw out their objective price speculations. The market's rampant with this stuff, friends. You just got to be real careful about it for sure. So notice who said this is the CEO of Nexo. So it is to Nexo's benefit to tell everyone that crypto is going to moon. That's what I'd be saying too if I were the CEO of Nexo. So you got to take these things with a grain of salt, right? Now, the article does go into some more meat that I won't cover on why he thinks it's going to be this year that you get to $100,000. Look, if it does, awesome. If it doesn't, well, your whole financial strategy should not be planned on what's going to happen this year, right? Like most of us are continuing to hodl and we'll see what continues to happen. But if I can tell you this, having been in crypto since 2012, 2013, it's a long haul game for most of us. It really is, especially when you see the news like I covered yesterday. If you didn't see yesterday's video about what the SEC is doing to Celsius, ripping away the earn program for those of us that aren't in the $1 million club that is accredited investors. So, it's a hard world. Those that hodl are those that do well, typically. Okay, so I thought this was an interesting article. And it's funny to see one side versus the other of crypto is going to fall apart, even though that's not what Michael Lewis said. And then, oh no, it's going to blow up. It's funny to see all these differences. Well, speaking of all these differences, this even seems to reconcile with what's in the Bitcoin Greed and Fear Index. If you don't follow this on Twitter, you can also see it in other places, but I do follow it. And of course, Bitcoin is at all-time, well, it's at not all-time, but it's at fear at negative 28. 28 is not a good score. Looks like yesterday was also fear. No, yesterday was extreme fear. Last week was fear. And last month was extreme fear. We know that this has been a rough time in the crypto markets. This is why those that continue to say, hey, look, when the markets are fearful and, the money's falling out of it, this is when I'm getting into it, baby. I love that view, right? That view of like when the markets are low, that's probably the time to buy. And so it's just, you see this stuff when you hit markets like this, and you just got to be like patient and understand that you're going to see the whole like, oh, we think it's going to fall apart. I've seen that stuff literally for years happening. And then you see the flip side. Oh no, it's going to moon, baby. 100K this year for sure. Trust me. Just ignore that I'm with Nexo and just know it's going to blow up. Now, I'm not a Nexo hater. I think Nexo's awesome. I'm just saying we all have ulterior motives in the things that we make. So, if that's not funny enough, this one is a riot. I absolutely love this article from Coinbase. So, there was all this buzz around NFTs, especially like there was this period of time when NFTs were really starting to come into like press cycles, speaking of the journalistic integrity of these crypto writers. And a lot of NFTs were like famous renditions of something that happened a long time ago. Like maybe somebody that was created a meme of, and then they turned it into an NFT. Or in this case, Jack Dorsey's very first tweet was turned into an NFT. And these are really hard for most people, including myself, to really get our minds around, right? Like, I understand Beeple creating some very unique artwork and selling it for $69 million. I get that because he organically created it. Now, I know some people still have trouble with that because you can just see it online, right? That's a topic for another story. But when you just like authorize an NFT off of an old tweet, or authorize like the actual NFT ownership of the original meme, like it just doesn't really compute with me, right? But whatever. So this guy here, what's his name? Sina Stavi. I don't really follow him on Twitter, but he was well known for buying Jack's very first tweet, or at least the NFT representation of it for whatever that's worth. Well, I'll tell you what it was worth. $48 million was what it was worth. Wow. Like, 48 million? This is really hard for most of us to grasp. You just spent half of $100 million on a tweet. The very first tweet? It wasn't like it's the actual tweet, it's the NFT representation, whatever. So I'm sure he thought, look how smart I am. Big brain move here, crypto big brain. This is a great idea. I'm going to sell this sucker one day and I'm going to make so much money out of it. Well, what do we know what's happening with Jack Dorsey right now? He's not exactly the most famous person that's out there at this point in time. Look, I'm not hating completely on Jack, but Jack is at the bottom of the news cycles and the news hype media right now with what's going on with Elon. More on that in just a minute. But it looks like it says here that it ended up with a top bid of just $280. And I'm like, talk about like all-time worst investments. However, I think I have it right here. I think it actually sold for less than 7,000. But hey, 48 million, 7,000, 48 million, 7,000. I mean, that's kind of close, right? It's not that far off from each other. I mean, that's a good investment, right? Maybe he just needed a whole bunch of capital gains to write off and just needed some crypto losses on the book. That's what it is. I'm sure his press people will come out and say, Yeah, that's why he actually did it. He needed to write off a significant amount of losses. If that's the case, I should have spun up my own 501c3 for dictatorcoin.com and then let him send it to there to fund it. But, hey, we'll let bygones be bygones and we'll let him make his own wise investment decisions. This is why you don't listen to like any kind of social media influencer of any kind, because that's the kind of stuff that happens when you listen to them. And if it weren't enough about Twitter, I think most of you have seen this. Elon offered to buy Twitter. I was talking to a friend of mine a couple days ago about this, and we were talking about why did Elon turn down the board seat for Twitter when he put in $9 billion investing in Twitter? And I told him, I said, hey, this is a shot in the dark, but I'm wondering if he's got some kind of hostile takeover plans. And because of his fiduciary responsibilities to the board, it's much more difficult to do that for a publicly traded company to do a takeover. Well, lo and behold, that seems exactly what was in Elon's brain. And, Elon is troll king supreme, right? We know that. He loves to pump cryptos, especially Doge. It is what it is, and he is who he is. I both love that and hate that at the same time, but he is fun to follow. And so we even see this. But here's my deal. New York Times. And by the way, this is not unique to the New York Times. I saw the same thing from Wall Street Journal. Do we really need live updates? Like, is it that important for us to understand Elon's next move that we've got to spin up live updates, like streams? Like, this is the next Apple conference and we're wanting to see like the next iPhone developments, but we got to see what Elon's going to do. Let's get a live update on step by step what happens with Elon trying to buy Twitter. Like, really? Is that really what's happening? But all I can think of is this. What a terrible time to try to sell your initial Generation 1 first tweet ever Jack Dorsey tweet. Like, if there is a time to sell that tweet, this would be the worst of times when Elon is getting ready to buy it. Maybe he thought, hey, with Twitter being in the news and everyone's so interested, maybe now's a good time to buy. But you talk about misunderstanding the market. Oh my goodness. But we don't need live tweets from this. Like, what are we possibly going to learn? Yes, he offers to buy it for $54 a share. Okay, well, we'll see what happens with that. But here, I think this is great. This tweet comes across from Matt Navarra. Matt said after he was talking about how it was sold for like $6,000 right here, you see this. He says, maybe Elon will buy it. Yes. Maybe indeed Elon will buy that. And I could see that happening. All it takes was Elon to reply back and say, yeah, I'll take that deal. But again, all-time worst deals ever. It just cracks me up, my friends. Like, this is the crypto world that we live in, this Elon-influenced marketplace with first-generation tweets, Bitcoin at 100,000, or maybe it's going to fall apart. Welcome to the world that we live in. However, MoonPay, as if we didn't have enough celebrities in the news cycle already. When I think crypto and I think really wise investors and brilliant minds and leaders in the space, really just leaders in general, like people you can just really trust in life. I definitely think of people like Justin Bieber. Don't you? I mean, wow. What? It's exactly who I want to listen to for all of my crypto advice. Also, Maria Sharapova, I'm pretty sure she's a tennis star. It's all like sports ball to me, like tennis, whatever. I think it's tennis. I'm not even going to Google her name, but I think she's a tennis star. So they get together and probably some other A-list, B-list, C-list celebrities and raise up a pool of $87 million for MoonPay. Now, here's my deal with MoonPay. MoonPay is actually kind of freaking awesome. I use MoonPay quite a bit. Whenever I need to get my hands on BNB, which is someone in the US, it's ridiculously hard to buy Binance coin. I don't know why it's so hard, but it is hard to buy. It's not listed on the Coinbase, Voyager, and some of the other places I typically buy from, but I get it from MoonPay. So I can just put in my debit card and off I go to buy some BNB. I know I'm paying a little bit more for that through all the fees, but sometimes I just need a bit of a top off on BNB for some of the coins and tokens I buy. But I don't think we really need, like, the news cycles to be led with Bieber over all of this, right? But this, again, is the age that we're in, where we have all of these crypto influencers like Snoop Dogg and others. Although I will say, if there's got to be a crypto influencer that, like, personifies crypto, it ought to be Snoop Dogg, right? He's, like, the coolest, chillest guy that's out there that, like, truly, I think, for the most part, represents our community, right? I love Snoop Dogg. We need more Snoop Dogg. But Bieber, Sharapova or whatever her name is, like, come on, like, we don't need this stuff, whatever. Okay, so there you have it. But let's talk about one piece of news that actually is important here. Let me go back and share my screen so we can get back over to this. This right here from also from Reuters, Reuters, I can never pronounce their name, whatever it is. Nexo and MasterCard launch together the world first crypto-backed payment card. Now, I actually think this is pretty interesting for a few different reasons. First of all, you need to know when it comes to this, it's only available initially in Europe, which because I guess Europe is now like far more crypto friendly than the US for what that's worth. And I just never thought it would happen that way, but it did. But keep in mind what's happening here is usually when you get a credit card, it's called it's sort of like an unsecured loan, right? So they're going to lend you up to however much they think your credit allows and your monthly income allows and all that kind of stuff. So maybe it's $1,000, $10,000, $100,000, whatever your rate limits are. And what you spend, you have to pay back. But this one is a little bit different. So this one is based upon how much crypto you have locked away and stored with Nexo. So let's say I have $100,000 with Nexo. I'm not going to say it's $100,000 they put the limits at, because I don't know yet. I don't think they've said, but whatever those limits are, you're going to be able to borrow up to 90% of those limits. No questions asked, no fees, no nothing. And I don't even think, if I go back to the article, let's go back and take a peek at this and confirm this because my memory is not fresh on this. So you can spend up to 90% of the fiat value of your crypto assets. There it is. No minimum repayments, monthly or inactivity fees. No fees at all. Now, why is it this way? The reason it's this way is because it's a secured loan. It's taking your crypto value and it's saying, hey, up to 90% of the value we're going to give to you, spend it however you want, because if you go south, we're going to take it from you. It's a secured loan. And so that's how they can afford to get away, because a lot of the risk is absolved away. So that's why they don't really need the fees. So what they're after for this is two different things. One, to get you to hold more crypto with Nexo, which is fine. It's a great idea. And two, more importantly, is they want to make interchange fee income. So this is definitely MasterCard's approach of like, I need to get into the crypto world for sure, because if I don't, the world's going to leave me by. And I think this is smart because you're now literally having more and more millionaires being created from crypto that are like from the classic credit system are in the hole. In other words, what do I mean by that? Maybe some kid who like finished college and has mountains of debt and defaulted on his college loan and has a terrible like 348 credit score, but is now a crypto millionaire because he bought Shiba early or whatever it is. That's the world we're in. And those kind of people are like, well, I don't need to get back into the crypto world. Like, I mean, the financial world, I mean, why would I want to go back into that world? I don't need into that world. Like that world grants me nothing. So I could stick with this and get a secured loan through Nexo and MasterCard by storing my funds with them and then just use that to financially transact. Goodbye, banks. See you later. This is what MasterCard's thinking. Because there are now alternative ways outside of the classic, work your 40 hours, get that good salary, and make your money, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Many of us do that. But we're now, face it, in a new era where you can be a minted millionaire simply by buying a zombified Bored Ape Yacht Club and holding it for a few months and then sell it. Like, that's the world we're in. So I think it's smart to see the classic financial players figure out a way to get into that, because if they don't, they are going to get passed by. There's your news roundup. Hope you had fun listening. I sure had fun telling you. I would love for you to share this with a friend. Hit like, hit subscribe. It really does go a long way. I'm at 75,000 subs now. Can you believe it? Just a small 25,000 to get that cool little silver creator award on the wall. And I will live stream me putting that sucker up with you guys. I'm almost there. So please hit like and definitely hit subscribe. Thank you guys so very much.